Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural and talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hello.
Hi.
I think someone is a little excited about Swan Song.
I'm so excited. It was really good.
It was really good. I was saying to Amy literally just before we hit record that I remember everything of this episode and yet nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, as the episode was progressing, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh, and obviously you're going, oh my god, because of what's happening in the episode. And it's just like, what is going on? my brain. And so I was having to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're doing season 5, episode 22, Swan Song. I was thinking, would I have been okay if this was the last episode?
Yeah.
And I would. I wouldn't change anything about it. If they said that season 6 was never coming, I would be probably very pissed.
Yeah.
But it was also so good. Like, Chuck disappearing at the end, Sam showing up at the end, like, just all of that. I was just like, yeah, no, I this is an ending that I actually would be happy with, even though Chuck was monologuing about how nobody's ever happy with the endings. I was like, all right, so this is what they're referring to, like, back in 1520, which I'll have something to say about 1520 from this episode as well. But I'm also going to try and slow down, but I don't think I can.
Do it. Just turn, you can use the slow down function on your podcasting. That's the thing, right? You might need it.
This episode's going to go really fast, but only because we're going to talk really quickly.
Yeah. You understand, like, when we really get into it, it's like... Yeah. I think this episode is so surprising because it's like cut up, and it's interspersed with those little moments about the Chevy. I don't know why I called her that today, but that's what she's going to be called today.
Well, she hasn't been given the name in this episode. Like, she's not referred to as Baby, so...
I think she was still Metallica at this point in Supernatural, which I hate. I just don't like it. I don't know why. I just don't like it.
Nah, I don't like it either. I think I'm not really a huge fan of Metallica, so...
In the right mood for Metallica.
So, how did you feel, Amy, about this episode? I've already done my speed round. Or speed.
I agree with you that I would have been happy if it had ended here. Like, even with the cliffhanger at the end, it's just perfect. I think, because if you think about... I'm going to super hulock this for a second. I apologise. But if you think about when the Reichenbach episode of Sherlock... I used to know all the names of the episodes. I was such a big Sherlock fan and I just can't stand it now. But, like... when he disappears in the graveyard and then there wasn't another episode for like 5 years or something, however long it was, they should have left it there because it was perfect. Like,
yeah, like, because it opens the door for people to end the story however they want to end the story. Like, it doesn't, with the way that they did end Supernatural, it really does shut it and be like, okay, this is it. Whereas this way you can start theorizing about, well, how did Sam get back? Like, why did Chuck disappear like that? What happened to Adam? I mean, that question was never answered, but...
it kind of did. Eventually they remembered. Like, eventually. He's in, like, 2 scenes. But, yeah.
What? So, sorry to go off topic again and to cut you off. So I was at the convention that was giving away when we're recording. It was last weekend. Met some really nice people, had a really great time. For somebody who was essentially in 4 episodes, Jay Cable, 5 episodes maybe, he probably has the most fun, not the most fun, he probably has the most fun out of all of the people that were there.
Yeah.
Like, he turned, so obviously because of the writer strike, you couldn't ask any questions about the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single one. So people were just asking like really random things. And somehow being asked what your favorite ice cream flavor turned into something really dirty. I'm like, how? How did you do this? My brain is in the gutter 24/7. Not even I could change it to be something really like innuendo-esque.
I've loved Jake Abel since he did, I think it was during COVID. He did like some Instagram stories where he basically like turned it into like a mini like horror movie. And I think that's when I became like aware of him again after being in Supernatural, and I was like, why did I not know? It's like, he's so funny. Yeah, he's great actually. I really enjoyed him in this episode as well, actually, and I'll talk about it when we get to that point, I think, for reasons.
Yeah. No, he did a really good job with... I kind of wish that Jake Abel had the chance to, like... as this was pointed out in at the convention, like, I overheard a conversation, so I inserted myself into it, because of course. And they're saying that, like, in every movie, TV show, what have you, that he's in, he's being killed off. I'm like, he can't turn into the next Sean Bean. Like, he has to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. Damn it, he's too good.
It's true. Some people do just get typecast as like being,
the guy who dies.
He was in Grey. I'm sure I saw him in Grey's. He was in Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, ah.
And he probably died.
Yeah. Did he die? I can't remember what happened to him. I don't know. Go look it up. I can't be bothered to Google it right now.
And I'm pretty sure he died in Percy Jackson as well. Or at least his character eventually gets killed. I don't know if he actually died in the movie. I don't know. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, no, he deserves better.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I'll let you carry on with what you were saying.
Oh no, it's fine. Swan Song's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with Swan Song. I think it's a kind of perfect episode of Supernatural. I'm not mad at it at all. No, there's nothing in it that I'm mad at. Like, I am just thinking they should have ended the show here. And I think there's a lot of people that would agree with me. But if they had ended the show here, we wouldn't be doing this podcast about Supernatural, because I feel like if it had only been a 5-season show, it would have come and gone like everything else. People would be like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. No one's probably going to be rewatching that, or I don't think there was a good fandom, but I feel like it would have like petered off eventually. But because it has this whole like legacy of 15 years and all of the like brain worms that come with it.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
Because it just burrows on in there. That, it became like a more like cultural icon. Like, Supernatural's just always been on television. And there aren't any other shows that have run that long apart from probably Doctor Who, Grey's Anatomy, and I guess you could count Star Trek. Like, and I mean, 2 of those have like the biggest fandoms in ever. So Supernatural's up there too.
And also, it's special in a way that like it's niche. It is so niche. Like this genre of like horror. I say horror in quotation marks because it has horror themes, because it's obviously monsters and things, but it's not horror as in scary.
No.
But there's nothing else out there that had that staying power. Like Buffy maybe could have.
Yeah.
And I guess if you add Angel seasons on the end, it gets to about 11, right? 11, 12. I can't remember how many seasons of Angel there were. I think maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
It was 4 or 5. But I mean, they ran concurrently, so it doesn't really count. So it's just like, what other niche show can run for 15 years.
Exactly. So I'm glad they didn't end it here. But I feel like, I don't know. I was like, my life would be improved, but it wouldn't actually, because I have so many friends because of Supernatural, like, and I've done so much stuff because of Supernatural that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So, hey.
I mean, Gish probably wouldn't have even existed.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that has tremendously improved my life.
Apart from the week that you do Gish, and then that week you just want everybody to die.
Yeah, I really missed Gish this year. I really missed it. Just the excitement, I really missed. Even when you don't like actively take a part, you always know Gish is going on, and it's like, you know, see what people are doing. And I really missed Gish this year. No, just to bring that right on down. It bummed me out. But yeah. we'll get back to Swan Song. I would say that to be fair, I feel like this episode was kind of supposed to like bum you out a bit, but it didn't, because it still felt like everything that was good about Supernatural in this one episode.
And so what's really funny is that as I was watching this, and I was like, oh, Amy's going to absolutely love this because it is such a tragic ending, but it's also like a really happy ending.
Yeah.
Right? And like, oh, I mean, one-eyed acting Jensen just got me right in the blimmin' heart. Like his other eye's swollen and you can see everything that's going on in his brain, like Dean's brain. I'm just like, how does this man do it?
Everyone acted their butt off here. Like, it was good. Yeah. It was good.
And like the hopelessness of Cass and the hopelessness of Bobby. Oh, yeah, it got me right in the feels.
Because if you think about it, for a finale, I'm saying like finale and like quotation marks, but at this point it was going to be, right? For a finale, it had a very small cast. But it felt like the right amount of people. Like everyone who's important to the story was there, and all the things happened to them. It was just...
You know what it is? Apart from, you know, some of the earlier seasons, sort of like the psychic children and all that, you forget all of that. It becomes non-important because the main players of this episode, besides Crowley, and even then, Crowley's only important to us because of who he becomes. But the main players of the season concludes their story.
You're so right. Yeah, everyone gets an ending. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Let's get into Annabelle. We're talking around it. Let's do it, because I'm ready to talk about so much about this.
Me too. So, this episode starts with our trigger song. The thing is, again, at the convention last week, this song came on so often that I don't get like an immediate reaction to it anymore, because like what gets me is just the opening line and like the opening riff. When you get past like the first chorus and the first verse, the song is so good. Like the guitar solo that's in it, like towards the middle and at the end, I'm like, God, if only I, didn't have all this trauma attached to this song. Like I would listen to it all the time because it's so good. It's so good.
For me, it's the dun 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 dun. That bit is a bit like, I feel it just like ignites my brain. I feel like at convention I'm on like high alert to hear it, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
My problem is when I'm like in the supermarket.
And it just comes out of nowhere.
It's like, be normal, be normal.
I cannot have a mental breakdown in the cookie aisle. Yeah, I totally get that too. So I'm not going to break down the entire recap, just because it's a recap of the entire season. Yeah. Minus pretty much all of the filler episodes. Because it starts with Gabriel, and I was like, well, Gabriel's already had his ending. as well. So like, even though they're bringing up some of these characters, like they didn't bring up Crowley, which from what I can recall. But like he played a big role, but at the same time he kind of didn't, right?
Also, I feel like his ending could be assumed because his whole thing was, it's all going to be fine.
Survive.
Yeah, as long as Lucifer goes back in the cage. So, like, I'm going to make good with that. And we would have thought he would have gone back to his old role as King of the Crossroads or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there is a hierarchy in hell that's kind of alluded to. But again, if the seasons had ended here, I don't think anyone would have remembered about it, that there's like now a big power vacuum because Lucifer's back in the cage. Because it should have just continued as it was, right? Because he appeared to take charge and then he's gone again. It's fine.
Exactly. So obviously there's the vessel reveal for Sam and Dean. You got moments from Good God, Y'all, The End, 99 Problems. We've got Adam from Point of No Return getting like in the white room.
Oh yeah.
Sam talking about his plan, and then Death handing over the rings and being like, you're gonna let Sam do what he needs to do, right? And then the last line of the last episode where Bobby's saying, "Are you afraid of losing or losing your brother?" It's just like, yeah. Ugh. There's just something about that. This just hits right in the heart. And you're to blame. So it starts off with a voiceover of Chuck, and he's talking about on April 21st of 1967, the 100 millionth GM vehicle rolled off its line, and it was a 2-door Caprice. And then 3 days later, baby is born. But nobody cared, but they should have cared because it became the most important the most important object in pretty much the whole universe. And Chuck goes on to say who owned the car first, and it was somebody who was giving out Bibles, getting folks ready for Judgment Day.
So his name is Sal, and I don't know if this is a reference that Kripke made, but originally Sam's name in the like draft script was going to be Sal.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's not, because I can't say that name.
Me neither. I don't know how.
Can you imagine Sal and Dean? No.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's why they chose that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, maybe. And then after Sal had passed, the Impala ended up at Rainbow Motors, a used car lot in Lawrence, where a young Marine bought her on impulse. And it sort of shows from in the beginning with John looking over the car. It's so funny to see Matt Cohen be John Winchester after watching the Winchesters, because I'm like, oh no, it should be Jake Rogers.
Yeah, they should have done it like in the DVD version, like they did with Star Wars, where they just take out Anakin Skywalker and put him.
I'd feel pretty bad for Matt Cohen though.
He'd be fine. Everyone remember it was him, but like
for these flashback moments, maybe.
Yeah.
So bought on impulse, but that was after a little advice from a friend, and it pans to Dean. And I guess that's where our story begins, and here it's where it ends. It's just like the kind of parallels between this Chuck voiceover and the beginning or the end of season 14 and like beginning of season 15. I'm like, it's bringing it back. It's bringing it back. Chuck's talking about how it's the end.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I've never actually made that connection before between this episode and Chuck at the end of this series. And I don't know why I haven't made that connection before. I feel like it's just so much time passed between those 2 points. But
I mean, yeah.
I can understand what they're trying to what they were trying to do, I guess. Also, every time Chuck appeared on the screen this time, I was just like, look at his smug face. He looks so smug in every like frame of this. Like, Rob Benedict did a good job because he just looks so freaking smug. You want to like smack it off his face,
squish it.
Yeah.
Let me smush that face back into your face. So I realized we didn't actually talk about who directed and wrote this episode.
Yes.
So it was written by Eric Kripke and Eric Gurwitz.
Yeah.
Jurwitz, I'm not sure. And directed by Steve Bonham.
Not Bobby Singer, Robert Singer, which I thought was interesting.
Good choice. I'll just say that. Yeah, I was also a little bit surprised, though there were some moments where I was like, oh, I'm sure Robert Singer was on set. That he had to be. Some of those close-ups, I was just like,
Yeah, there were some close-ups in this episode. Some of them are really good. Like, some of them are really good, and some of them are like, it's too close.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Sam.
Your face is too big.
I'm like, I don't have like a huge TV, but it's, it's like a regular size for the modern day. And like,
yeah.
I just don't need Jared Padalecki's face that big on my TV screen. Like, nothing against him, but it was so big. I could see every pore of his face. Giant man and his giant face on my telly during this episode. And I'm not complaining, like, it's fine. It was very close.
Yeah, it was very close.
I think there's something to be said about these. I have to keep this in a talk because this is all just weird. But like, there's something to be said about shots where you don't see anyone's like ear or hair. That's just very. I guess it's very intimate, and I think it's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and it does.
It really, really does. Yeah. It does. So, it cuts to Bobby's salvage yard and Sam sitting on the hood. We've never seen Sam or Dean sit on the car like this, and it's like, it really is kind of showing, like, I don't know, it almost felt like longing, and I don't know how I got that from just the way he sat on the car, but it was just like, he was very contemplative in his stance.
Like, trying to sort of, encompass his whole body onto the car, like trying to keep it with him, sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like drawing comfort from it.
Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, I was watching this and I was like, Chuck just said this was the most important car in existence. You got your feet on her hood. Like, show some respect, man.
True. So he's drinking a beer. Dean approaches and grabs the cooler and grabs himself a beer. And Dean tells Sam that he's in. He's in for the plan. He's completely on board.
Watching out for you. It's kind of been my job, More than that, it's kind of who I am. You're not a kid anymore, Sam. I can't keep treating you like one. Maybe I gotta grow up a little too.
With you. And it's just like, so sad.
An empty nester. Like,
yes. Dean asks, is this really what you want to do? And Sam says, I let him out. I got to put him back in. And so Dean says, okay, then that's it then. Mm-hmm. And then, sploosh! The last time.
Yeah, did you find the title card, like, really jarring? I almost feel like they didn't need it in the final episode.
Yeah, I felt like it was really loud. Yeah. Probably because they were just talking and there was no real music. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true. The theme was back. It wasn't quite his theme, but I guess it's Sam's version.
It was a variation on Dean's theme. Like, if you listen to it, it's almost a remix. So I feel like they kind of blended something together. Because when Dean's theme plays, it's something that's emotional for Dean. Like, it always is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this was something between both of them. So yeah, I do feel like it kind of blended. See, I still haven't pinpointed Sam's theme, but maybe it did blend there too. I don't know.
So his, I wish I could sing it, but like, so Dean's is that like do 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 do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sam, if you listen back to it, Sam's is like a little bit before that. I think it's all like this. There's not a quite defined like tune.
Yeah.
But it's kind of there. Like if I go back and watch it, I'm pretty sure I think I might be able to pick out what it is because I know I've heard it before.
Yeah.
But I've never really paid attention to it because we've had a lot of emotional scenes for Dean more.
Yeah.
Where like it's not where it's like original soundtrack versus for Sam, I don't think we really had it. Like it's been more like sound effects.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they never, the thing is they never pegged that as like Dean's theme. I think the actual name for it on the soundtrack is Americana. So it's almost like a family kind of theme, or like something that when Dean loses his like apple pie stuff, it plays. But it is his theme there. It just is. We've talked about this many times.
I'm wondering, another good place to maybe pinpoint it is at the end of this episode, because I don't like, you would expect it for Dean's theme to play then.
Yes.
But it's not. I don't remember exactly what was playing at the end. But I feel like it was the original soundtrack, not like a song. So that might be the place to find it.
We'll have a look.
Yeah. So we cut to a building and there's like strung up demons because they're being drained of their blood, which is, great.
This is so much more messed up than they actually hit on in this episode. Because those are possessed humans that they are like draining the blood out of, like some kind of vampires.
Yeah, it's not good. I guess at this point, they're assuming that the demons are killing the hosts.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're talking themselves down from that. I don't know. It
makes you wonder, right? There was that whole bit where, like, in season 15, where Chuck gave them, like, some alternate endings, and one of them was when, like, Dean and Sam become vampires, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're like...
It wouldn't be far off.
Would they really be that different?
I mean, I guess yes, they would be different because... Oh no, I was going to say because they don't have a choice, but like they don't have a choice being vampires either.
Right. And like they know good vampires. Like Dean was friends with Benny. Like would it really be that bad? Yes, when they die they go to purgatory, but like other than that, would their lives be that different? Really? If they were vampires?
No.
Look at this scene and then tell me that their lives would be different.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. Maybe that's where Chuck got his inspiration for that world. Who knows?
Because this was messed up. Like it was.
It really was.
It was glossed over. It's like so glossed over. But the milk jugs alone, it's just so messed up.
I mean, we've been talking about the milk jugs for like. Since season 4, I think, because that's when that's when he was drinking the blood on screen more often. And it's just like, oh man, this is bad. Like, so the thing is, do you know how much blood somebody has in their body? Isn't it like 8 gallons of blood?
8 liters of blood. Oh, pints.
8 liters.
Pints.
8 pints. How much is
Hang on, let me
gallon?
Google it. I'm so bad at conversions. 8 pints.
I know, why can't we just have one?
liters.
Why is there liters, pints, milliliters? Fuck, just, I want one.
Okay, so an average human person has 8 pints of blood, which is 4.5 liters, right?
Okay.
And 4.5. So you just think, okay, so you can buy 4 pints of milk. So 4 pints of milk would be a human blood amount. And like Sam has like, I don't know, how many, like he has 4-gallon jugs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I was looking it up. So one of those things is a gallon.
Yeah.
Like the milk jug is a gallon. They take 8 pints.
So that he's drinking.
So each 4 people. He's drinking 4 people.
I thought this because. Okay, well, I'm jumping ahead, but it's worth talking about. There's a point at which he drinks this blood, right? And it just cuts away. And I'm thinking he's just drank 4 gallons worth of blood. Like, where did it go?
Where did it go? I thought the exact same thing. Like, have you ever tried to just chug a gallon? That is difficult. I mean, fine, it's not all the way to the top, blah, 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 blah. But still, like, is it just like magic?
This reminded me, this is such a stupid reference. I apologise, because it's going to change your whole view of me. But, like, I remember back in my teenagers watching Jackass.
You know, we all did. I don't blame you.
One of the challenges, they were all sat around a campfire and they all had to chug a gallon of milk. Like, this was something. And some of them had normal
I remember
milk.
that,
yeah, and some of them had... It was disgusting because honestly, about halfway through, literally every single one of them was throwing up. And I was just...
Yeah.
Sam just casually just slammed 4 gallons.
Yep. Well, you know, like this is Sam trying to prove himself at this point, right? So this is really him just being like, oh, I'm going to be sick, but I got to do it because I have to show everybody that I can do it. But like the way he like casually walks away and just like, all right, I'm ready. Like you would be holding your gut, like, oh, I gotta go shit.
Like his tummy would be full. Where's his little like round? No, I mean no, it's ridiculous. There must be some kind of absorption magic. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of. I guess it's implied, right? Because it's power conversion.
I mean, maybe. What I really want to know is how long did it take? Because it seemed like it took like maybe a few minutes.
Yep.
All I'm saying is we deserved that scene.
We did.
And it should have looked like it was hard, right? Like, we needed to see Sam slam the blood, and like he should have been like, oh, this is so difficult, like wiping his face and like the actual taxing, not just like, oh, I have a little sippy sip out my bottle.
I know, like, again, the trouble with pacing we talked about in the last episode. You know, we wouldn't. There's not enough time in this episode for something like that to happen, and honestly, there is no wasted time in this episode.
You're right. Yeah, they do like bang, bang, bang. All the story points are like just like going. I mean. For this season, I haven't really been watching many deleted scenes, and I'm planning to do so for our like end of season thing. Wrap up. So I'll be interested to see what ones, if there are any for this episode, because I feel like the thing is,
that's true.
I feel like I have a memory of Sam slamming the blood. Like, I'm sure there's a scene of him downing those milk bottles, and I was surprised when we didn't see it.
The funny thing is, I'm right there with you, but I'm wondering if it's just like our imaginations are that good.
No, it's the what is it? The Mandela effect.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone else, tell me, do you remember a scene of Sam slamming some milk bottles of blood? Because I do. It's all the Berenstein Bears all over again.
Yeah, yeah. And the man that the whole thing's named after. Honestly, I was one of those people that thought Nelson Mandela had died in prison. So I was like, wait, what?
I know. Look,
He's alive?
It's the only conspiracy theory that draws me in. Like, that one. Like, yeah, there was a robber emoji.
Anyway, back to the episode.
Yeah.
This is going to happen all the way
know.
through. So, sorry, not sorry. So that they're leaving the building, and Sam and Dean Cass and Sam all have the jugs filled with the blood, and they like put it in the backseat of the Impala. With the way I'm going to go on another tangent right now. With the way that Dean drives, I am surprised there's not blood everywhere, because those lids do not because it looked like one of those just like press on lids, not screw lids. Mm-hmm. Those things just come off if you take a corner too fast.
Well, the real thing is that actually Cass is just in the back, like hugging the milk jugs. Like every swerve, he's like, ah, on the other side.
I just had a horrible thought. That blood is cold.
Ooh, no, that makes it worse. Oh, no. Look, we established this demon blood is some kind of magic because Sam had that in that flask and it didn't congeal.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes. You're right. You are right. Okay. So, but is it still warm?
I don't know. Maybe they heated it up first. Like, put it in the microwave for a few minutes.
Or, Cass carried on hugging it. Anyway, no, I'm not going to do that. And then Bobby starts to list out where omens have been. And there's a cyclone in Florida. There's temperature drop in Detroit and wildfires in LA.
Is that demonic omen now, is it? Wildfires in LA.
I mean, it shouldn't be because they happen every year now. And what's the difference between a cyclone and like a tornado?
I don't know enough about weather. Geography is not my subject.
Nope. Nope.
That's the one. Devil's in Detroit.
Really? As far as foreboding goes, it's a little light in the loafers. You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
And obviously, Dean knows it's going to be in Detroit because he's been told that it's going to be in Detroit. And it cuts to the Impala and they're driving. And Cass is asleep in the back, which is adorable. which Dean points out. And Sam's like, well, angels don't sleep. And then Dean points out, like, saying, oh, I got a bad feeling about this. And Sam's like, well, you'd be nuts not to be feeling good about it.
There are a number of Star Wars references in this episode. Like there are more than of the regular amount because, and maybe just think of this because obviously, like Dean calls Bobby Yoda in the last scene. I've got a bad feeling about this. That's so much a Star Wars line, even later on as well. And I wonder if it's just Kripke making fun of himself at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, so the only time that I picked that up is because obviously Lucifer calls Sam Luke Skywalker. Like,
yeah.
I'm wondering if Kripke was just like, you know what, he probably knew this was going to be his last episode. He's going to make it what he wanted it to be, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
You gotta promise not to try to bring me back.
What? No, I didn't sign up for that.
Dean?
Your hell is gonna make my tour look like Graceland. You want me just to sit by and do nothing?
Once the cage is shut, you can't go poking at it, Dean. It's too risky.
No.
Going back to what Zachariah said about they only look out for each other. I'm actually in that episode. I was like, oh no, Dean Dean looked out for Adam. You know, he made sure he was okay. No, this conversation proves that Zachariah was right, because he's talking about getting Sam out the cage, but they know that Adam is going to be the vessel.
Yeah.
And it's not even, or maybe they don't know, but they must have surmised, right, that Adam was going to be the vessel. They couldn't find him. Michael was showing up, and Michael and Zachariah had said that Adam could be the vessel.
I feel like they do know that was going to happen. I mean, there's just the thing is, there's no discussion of what's happened to Adam really in this episode at all. Like, he is the forgotten Winchester, and I feel like he should be more mad at them about that, to be honest. But because there's just no consideration about, like, oh yeah, who's going to show up to fight Lucifer if it's not Dean? Like, it's going to be Adam, like, obviously. What's interesting in this conversation is that Sam's making Dean promise not to come and save him after he's gone into the cage, which obviously Dean was thinking about doing, because he's like, well, that's not what I agreed to. You can go, like, jump in this cage, but then I'm allowed to save you afterwards. Because then he's fulfilling all of his promises, right? Because he told Death that he would let Sam jump in the cage. He's telling Sam that he's going to let him jump in the cage. But no, he was like, haha, loophole. No one ever said I wasn't allowed to save you. But Sam's closing that for him. And I feel like this is when he really, like, realizes that he's going to lose Sam.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely when I felt it too. He forgets how well Sam knows him. Because, I mean, we saw that with not 99 Problems, the episode after 99 Problems. I can't remember what one it is now. It might be in Point of No Return, actually. Where, you know, he's already gone to see Lisa and he's sending everything back. And Sam found him very easily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dean doesn't realize how much Sam knows him by being able to point out that, no, I know what you're going to go do.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you not to do it. So Dean asks, you know, well, what am I supposed to do? He says, go find Lisa, pray she's dumb enough to take you in, and you have barbecues to go to football games. You live a normal apple pie life, Dean. Promise me. And then it cuts to an alleyway.
I don't know how I feel. Maybe about this later. Don't know how I feel about Dean and Lisa. I actually, on one hand, I kind of love it. But I don't know. There's some. It's not the ending for Dean because it's not on his terms. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. You know what it is? It's his kind of own self-sacrificing, so it kind of does make sense. Because he's sacrificing, like, I have no doubt that he loves Lisa. And, you know, he loves Ben, and he loves the idea of this family.
Yeah, I agree.
But he just loves Sam more.
Yeah.
He loves Sam more. And it's almost a form of punishment to have a happy ending.
I agree with you.
And therefore it's actually quite within his character to force himself to have a life that he doesn't actually really want.
Yeah. And I think that becomes evident as well with, like, what he says at the end. Yeah, I agree with you. We'll talk about it more, but, like, you're completely 100% right. It's still self-sacrificial. That's so true. It's so true. Yeah.
Just because it's a quote-unquote happy ending doesn't mean it's the ending that he wants.
Oh my God. Do you think Sam, at the end of season 15, was doing the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. Yep.
Because Dean died and he wanted him to go have a happy life. And he was like, well, what it constitutes a happy life? Going out hunting, having a family, etc. Which, as we've said many times, I don't feel Sam was really like in that place anymore. He was a leader of hunters. Like he wanted to make the world a better place, not just quit on everybody and get a family. But then Dean died.
Yep.
So he went and did what he thought would make Dean happy. Oh my god.
As a form of self-sacrifice.
Yep.
Fuck's sake. Are we actually explaining the ending in a way that actually makes sense?
It depends on the intent of the writers.
This is true. This is very true. And I think the intent is not what we think it is.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, does it matter? I feel like if we can make sense of the ending, I feel like our job would be a good... Well, we've done a good job.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So they're in Detroit in an alley, and Bobby's looking at a building and he sees some demons there. The very formal ones, because, you know, they're in suits and stuff like that. So Dean knows that Lucifer's here. I'm surprised Sam doesn't say that line, because I feel like there would be more of a connection between the two of them, but maybe Sam doesn't want to think about it, so...
It's also like Dean being sure because it's Detroit. That whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I just realised, is this not the building that they stormed in the end?
Oh, it might be. Might be. I'd need to go back and check.
It feels familiar.
It does. It could be.
That's why Dean's like, he's here, I know it, because he's actually seen this already.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
I just find it really frustrating for Dean, because there must be something to, like, obviously he's stuck in the storyline, but there must be something to, like, it's like those things where you get a prophecy and you do everything you can to stop the prophecy from happening, and then it still happens anyway. And he's literally seeing this play out, thinking, his brain must be going to like, it's happening. That's exactly how they said it's going to happen. It's happening, and like I can't stop it.
But he is changing it.
Yeah,
because Sam was by himself. That's the biggest difference, is that Sam is not alone, and that's like the speech that Dean gives in a little bit later in the episode is coming from the episode at the end.
You're so right. Yeah. You're right.
And if you think about it, had Dean not shown up at the... We're going all over the place with this episode, but who cares? Had Dean not shown up at the graveyard, Adam and Sam would have fought with nobody else there.
Yeah, that's true.
And because Dean was invested in like being there for his brother. We'll get to that. So, I hated the scene.
Me too.
Because Bobby approaches Sam and he says, "I'll see you around, kid," and then they hug, and it's just like, yeah, that's so sad. Bobby then says, he gets in, "You fight with him tooth and nail, you understand? Keep swinging, don't give an inch." He says, "Yes, sir." He then holds out his hand to Cass and he says, "Take care of these guys." And Cass is like, "That's not possible."
And humor me.
Oh, I'm supposed to lie. Sure, they'll be fine.
Just stop.
I love him so much.
It's like his put on voice is so hilarious to me, and I don't really know why.
Because Misha.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, that's his. I gotta say Misha voice. It's just who he is, but like deeper. Look, we'll get there with the accents in this show, but this is yeah.
Sam then walks to the back of the Impala and like opens up the trunk and sees all the blood. And he turns to Dean and says, "Do you mind not watching this?" And you can see that he's really ashamed. He's embarrassed, and like as much as he knows he has to do this, like, he doesn't want to, like, and it makes sense. Like, if you think about it, he's been locked in the panic room twice for essentially his addiction. So what would be the worst thing is having people watch you break your, like, come off the wagon, right?
I think, yeah. And also, like, would there be any coming back from this? Because sort of detoxing last time nearly killed him, and from not this amount of blood.
So I don't think so, because the demon, well, the way that Cass explained it was that the demon blood was like sustaining Nick. So maybe, like, but who knows? So yes, I think what's happening is that Lucifer drains the initial blood, so there's actually nothing left in his body, because Sam is the perfect vessel. He doesn't need to continue to take demon blood. It's just that initial, like, transfer, and the transfer is there because it maybe lowers his guard, so it makes it easier for Lucifer to take over Sam's body, because he's you know, in the like
psychically amenable,
open. So this is where he manages to chug 4 gallons of blood as if it's nothing. Ugh. We've talked about enough. I don't want to think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So Sam, after drinking the blood, like, he does kind of wipe his mouth a little bit, and walks towards the building and says, "Let's go."
We're here, you sons of bitches! Come and get it!
Hey guys, is your father home?
And then Lucifer turns around and says, hey guys, so nice of you to drop in.
Boo! That's what I say.
So his like, Lucifer's characterization is still the same.
Yeah.
Still the same.
Yeah.
There's a line that's going to come in this next section, which when it comes to it just made me so happy when he says, "I win, so I win." I was like, oh, he said it. Anyway, carry on.
So between this scene and the next, we get another Chuck voiceover about the Impala. And it says, you know, the Impala has things that other cars have and a few things they don't, and it, like, cuts to the trunk and shows all the weapons inside. It says, but none of that's important. Like, the stuff that is important is, like, the army man that Sam crammed into the ashtray, the Legos that Dean shoved into the vents, and it's, like, cut with younger versions of them, like, doing these things. And it said, like, you know, when the heat comes on, you can still hear them rattle, and this is what makes the car theirs. Even when Dean rebuilt her from the ground up, he made sure that these little things stayed, because it's the blemishes that make her beautiful. And it says, the devil doesn't know or care what kind of car the boys drive. And it is, I really like this bit. I've always liked this. Because a lot of people think that Dean's like a car freak. Like, that he's, you know, just really into cars. But if he cared about the Impala in that way, of her just being a classic car, he would have restored her without those imperfections. But she's not a car. So that he needs all of those to be her, which is what Chuck's saying here. I just always thought that was nice.
and as also during, like you're saying, the blemishes, it shows the, like, classic scratching, the knife scratching of their initials.
Yeah, that's right as well. Like, it's under some of the fabric in the back, which is really, like, obviously doing it while John wasn't looking, and then, like, putting the fabric back. Why not?
I gotta say, when I was watching that, watching them scratch it, and obviously they're fake knives, but I think it's Dean The way he's holding the blade, I'm like, oh my, that child is going to cut their fingers off.
Oh my god, I know. It's like,
Yeah.
what have you got there? A knife. Sorry. It's still my favourite video. Yeah, I think I don't know why. I love this. That's one of my favourite bits of the episode. Like just seeing all the little bits of the Impala.
Yeah, it's really like quiet moments, and you don't really get quiet moments in Supernatural.
Yeah, not without an interruption.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a full thought. You manage to have a whole thought, and you're like, oh yeah, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
We cut back to the building where, Sam and Dean have been hauled in by the demons, and Lucifer is being dramatic. That's the only thing. He is, though. He, breathes on a window pane and all ices up, and he draws, a little pitchfork. I feel like the idea of the devil running cold comes from Dante's Inferno, where it talks down, going through the layers of hell. I think the last one, it's like a frozen lake, and it's for the traitors, essentially.
I mean, that would make sense, yeah. Since Lucifer's supposed to be a traitor, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he says, sorry if it's a bit chilly. Most people think I burn hot, but it's actually quite the opposite. Dean immediately sassing the devil,
of course.
My dude, just stop for 5 minutes. It's like he can't help himself. He has no filter. He's just like, yeah, and
of course.
Yeah. Because even he looks kind of surprised that he says it. So yeah, Lucifer turns around and you can see that Nick is all messed up now. His face is literally sort of coming apart almost. It's gross. So they explain that they're not here to fight him like they were before. Sam wants to say yes to Lucifer. And when he says, excuse me, Sam does this thing where he kills some demons with his mind. Which, impressive. It's kind of sad that we didn't get to see more of what his demon powers would entail. We know he can exorcise demons, but I mean, literally killing demons with a thought is interesting.
And it's interesting that he went to kill them versus exorcise them, because that was what he was doing with Ruby at first, right? He was practicing how to draw their souls out of the body to save the people.
Yeah.
But this was just nope, instant death.
Trying to impress. I think you're right that they're past the point of trying to, this sounds awful, trying to save people who've been possessed by demons unless they personally know them.
Is this the fault of the episode? I believe the children are our futures, with the pregnant mother, because of her whole horrific experience. They're it's probably better that they don't come back.
Maybe, yeah. And they're just we should just kill them at this point because they're just going to keep possessing people. Maybe. There should have been that discussion, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely assigning meaning to that meaningless episode. That's the only reason why I'll give it, existence in the series.
No, but yeah, it's a choice. You're right. I mean, I also feel it's the apocalypse, so what's 2 more dead demons at this point?
People. Yeah, true.
So, they kind of have this back and forth, and Lucifer's well, you're serious. Why? And Sam says, judgment trains are run... Judgment train. Choo-choo! Get on the judgment train! Judgment... Guns.
I was going to say toxic judgment train.
Yeah, exactly. So Sam says, Judgment Day is a runaway train. We just want off. And he says, it's the deal of the century. I'll give you a free ride, but when it's all over, I live, he lives, pointing to Dean. You bring our parents back. And Lucifer's stop this. I know you have the rings.
I mean, of course he does, because the 4 horsemen are depowered.
Yeah.
Why else would that happen?
Who else is going to have them? Sam is such a bad... Like, when they've been caught in a lie, they are terrible at lying. It's like, I don't know what you're talking
They
about.
are.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And Lucifer's like, you know, the rings. He's like, come on, Sam, I've never lied to you. You could at least pay me the same respect. He says, a wrestling match inside your noggin. I like the idea. You and me, 1 round, no tricks.
You win. You jump in the hole. I win. Well, then I win.
The way he says it is pretty good. Like, you have to cut that one in.
Yes. Because that's exactly how Sam did it in the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good, actually.
It's, yeah, mannerisms and everything. I was just like, oh, he said it. He said the thing. And, you know, it's these little moments that make it where it feels like the same being is jumping between everybody.
And it is hard to do. Like, you do have to give the actors props, because to do that is difficult, I feel. Like, to study someone and see their mannerisms and how they're acting, and then having to, like, replicate that in your own body is hard.
Lucifer is also played kind of camp, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not as badly as Crowley.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something a little camp about
And
it.
he's played more camp as the seasons go on.
I don't agree 100% with that.
I think wait till you see him in the next season, and then
Okay.
we'll circle back.
Maybe so. See, the way that I kind of characterize, especially season 7, when he comes back like properly, I feel like the campiness is kind of gone, and just like it becomes goofy, not campy.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, actually.
And it's a very subtle difference, but it's when camp goes a little too far to where it's just silly, but it's not fun.
There is a point where they start playing Lucifer as a parody of himself. Like, for sure. Yeah. You're right. Controversial take, maybe. I don't feel like we needed to see Lucifer ever after this episode. I just don't feel like the storyline was needed. I just don't feel it.
But then we wouldn't have had Jack.
Oh, true. True. Damn it. Could it not have just not been about? I don't know. We kind of did need Jack, to be fair. Why did it have to be Lucifer?
Yeah, we definitely. I was gonna say maybe a different archangel, but like
you need the whole evil plot line for like.
Yeah,
you're right. Oh, fine.
Maybe we didn't need him for as long as we had him.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Anyway.
Jumping really far ahead with that one, but it's okay.
So Lucifer knows about the rings, and Sam looks at Dean and he's like, so he knows, like, it doesn't change anything. It's kind of like almost like stage whispering to him. It's like, he's right there, dude. And Dean's trying to stop him with his eyes. He's like, Sam, no, like, you can't still say yes at this point. Like, don't do it. But Sam has already made the decision, and he just says, like, we don't have any choice. And then, yes. And then we see that really bright light, like at the end of season 4. Yes. Season 4, where they actually, you know, were summoned. And also when we see angels possessing people in this season at the moment.
I kind of wished it was... I was going to say I kind of wished it was something slightly different, but it reinforces the fact that Lucifer is an angel and not a demon. Yeah. So I feel like if they had changed it, because the same illuminating light is used, let's try saying that 5 times fast, is used for when the green room brightens for Michael. So it's kind of showing that, you know, they're one and the same.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I think it's a fine choice. So yeah, it happens, and Bobby and Cass watch it from outside. They see the light happen as well, so they know that someone's been possessed.
Yeah.
So Dean's up and around. Sam's passed out on the floor. And Dean's like, right, quick, go time. Gets the rings out of his pocket, chucks them at the wall, which they like stick to because they're magnets.
Yep.
And says some, I guess, Enochian. I think it's Enochian.
Sure.
It sounds, and maybe. And then a big old sucky hole appears.
Yeah.
Poor choice of words.
That's what she said.
And Dean's shouting, Sammy! And Sam gets up and he's like, Dean. And he's like, I can feel him. Oh my God. He's like really like clutching his head and kind of staggering towards the hole. And Dean's trying to help him and usher him through. Like, kudos to Dean here because he's really trying to help his brother, like, fulfill his wishes.
If that were me,
yeah,
I would have just gone.
Yeah,
pushed him in.
There should have been more shoving. Definitely.
Yeah,
like tripping him in.
Get in the hole, Sam. Do it.
So he's like, right, this, I don't know what this was. There's something, whether they use the same special effects or what, but him shouting, go! You've got to go! Well, there's like wind blowing in his face and like a big hole. Purgatory.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I think it's just the way that... Let me rephrase that in my mind before I say it out loud. I think it's just the way that they do portals. I was going to say that's the way they just do holes in the show, but it's the way they do portals.
You can totally say holes.
But yeah, like, oh, yeah. I guess it's dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah. Wind
blowing, clothes flapping in the wind, the collars in this thing. I was just like, I'm so distracted.
Go, go, go.
But Sam's hair is so good.
It's good. It is good. Oh, yeah. It just reminded me of that. And then Sam's like, okay, I'm going. And then turns around and is like, I do remember, I actually do remember watching this episode for the first time and being shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this was good.
Kudos to Jared.
Yes, he did an excellent job. Like, this is very good. And as Lucifer, which we've already seen him do, and he's very good at it.
I was just messing with you. Sammy's long gone.
And he turns around and shuts the portal, takes the rings, and says to Dean, I told you this would always happen in Detroit.
So, does that mean that was actually, like, because he, has he mentioned Detroit to anybody? No, yeah, I think he did in Abandon All Hope. I think it was mentioned there.
I think so. And, I don't know, this shot of Dean, like, with his hands on his head and like tears in his eyes, he like slowly turns around, like looking for where Sam is going because he just disappears, and like knowing that everything is just ended is it's pretty good acting.
Yep. That is the face of a man who knows he's fucked up.
Yeah.
But there was nothing he could do. There was literally nothing he could do at that point. And that's also what makes it really difficult.
I mean, none of us have like ever messed up this badly. Like, none of us have ever like ended the world. But like, there have been times in your life where you like have a real messed up like something, and like I felt this in my soul. Oh, yeah.
This next scene is probably one of my favorites in this entire episode. I mean, everything was really good about this episode, but there's just something when you can act against yourself. Yes. I mean, there's no way to say that he wasn't going back and forth. He probably wasn't going back and forth with himself. But like, just the idea of this, it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, it must have been so difficult. Again, like reacting to yourself and like maybe having to like watch it back and then do it again. It must have taken ages. And yeah, I liked it. This is where I was talking about the really close up camera angle.
Yeah. And I know it's a really cheesy metaphor to like use a broken mirror to like find your inner person, but it was really well done. And also like it almost feels a bit of a step up. Like Dean was amazing in season 3 where he had the same situation happen where he's facing a demon version of himself, or even though it was in a dream. I feel like this is just sort of a bit more elevated.
I agree with you.
That.
And like, I kind of crapped all over the camera work in this, but I understand why they did it, because when the shots are of Lucifer, they are very close up on Jared's face, because Lucifer in this moment is all encompassing, like he is taking up all of the space, which he does so on the screen. And then when you cut back to Sam, who's in the mirror, he's almost seen as like very far away. Like you can see his whole torso in the thing. So he's obviously very small and like diminished in this. So he's showing the amount of power that he has. So I can appreciate what they were doing, I think.
Yeah, the visual clues with the story, like really well syncing up.
Yeah, it's really good. So we get Sam/Lucifer in this basement. Who knows where it is? It's a basement. And there are some people there, like in a circle, just sort of with their heads hanging down. It's really creepy. And Lucifer is talking to Sam in his head and saying that he can feel him like fighting against him in his head. And he's trying to convince him that, you know, he's not the bad guy. He's just looking out for Sam. And he, like I said, he goes up to this mirror and says, like, I'll take the gag off. And they essentially have this conversation in the mirror. So you get the perspective of them talking back and forth, which is helpful, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Sam says, I'm going to rip you apart from the inside out. Do you understand me? And Lucifer says, such anger, young Skywalker. He says, who are you really angry with, me or that face in the mirror? You know, are you angry at yourself for saying yes and messing up? You know, Lucifer explained that he's been waiting for Sam for a long time and talks about how they're kind of like made for each other, like how it feels right, which Sam looks confused about in the mirror, but I don't think he ever kind of agrees with that. You know, Lucifer's trying to get him to agree on the fact that this is right, this is who you're supposed to be, you were always made to be my vessel. And you can see Sam's face where he's thinking like, does it? And almost saying like, no, it doesn't, I think.
Yeah, it's almost like he, like, Lucifer is trying to convince Sam that he has no autonomy over his body. And Sam's like, no, that's not right.
Yeah. Like, I think what gets across most in this scene is like Sam's sort of like strength of will and how much Lucifer is still having to work to try and break him. So, you know, like Lucifer plays on Sam's old fears of like not fitting in and being out of place. And, you know, he says, that family of yours, at best, they were foster care. Like, I'm your real family, you know? And Sam's like, no, that's not true. But he sounds quite upset by that.
I'm your real family. No, it's not true. It is. And I know you know it. All those times you ran away, you weren't running from them. You were running towards me.
Oh, you know, I let Dean live. Like, I can't be so bad.
Yeah.
It's very gaslighty.
Yeah, and it's like having to tell somebody that you're the good guy probably means you're not the good guy.
Absolutely. It almost plays like an abusive relationship where he's like, look, I'm the only one who cares about you. I'm the only one who loves you. Like, forget about your family. It's very much like that. And it's amazing they sort of conveyed that in what's quite a short scene, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, Sam says like, oh, I don't want anything from you. And Lucifer offers him some revenge because the people in the room are people from his life who I presume, I wasn't completely clear on this, but I presume they were, like Brady, demons who had been watching him.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad I got that.
That's how I understood it too, yeah.
So there was his friend Doug from where they, like, the place that they lived, his prom date, which is quite funny because Dean did refer to Lucifer wearing him to the prom. I don't know why. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
He said, "This is your life, Azazel's gang, watching you since you were a rugrat, jerking you around like a dog on a leash. He says, I know how you feel about them. So what do you say you and I blow off a little steam?"
I think it's interesting that... So this, I feel like, okay, going back to The Devil You Know, and how they had used Brady in the exact same way.
Yeah.
I think is supposed to show that he doesn't actually take enjoyment from take revenge on the demons that wronged him in the past. So Lucifer is reading him completely wrong.
I agree with you, yeah.
Had this had happened maybe season 2, then yes, absolutely, this would have made Sam's day. But Sam's actually grown from that and like has learned from that the revenge is not gonna and I guess he learned it from Azazel, because like the revenge was not worth it.
I totally agree. Yeah. Lucifer doesn't know Sam. Like, you can see from this, he doesn't know Sam. He doesn't want this. I really don't think so. No.
No, I think so too. I agree. And like, you know, it's funny to hear Azazel's name come up because of how much like he doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's because of the character development of everybody in the show, is that he doesn't matter anymore.
He's so far beyond. They've moved past Azazel. Yeah, I agree with you. So we see outside on like the street, there's that weird thing that like never happens anymore. There's televisions in a shop that are playing. I've never seen that in my whole life, but fine. And they're talking about all these bad things that are happening around the world in Portland and Boston and Hong Kong, etc. And they have no explanation as to why it's happening. And Dean and Bobby are watching basically the apocalypse happen on television.
This is the only indication that the apocalypse is happening around the world.
Yeah. I feel like there should have been some signs that like they see. It's fine. Budget, you know.
Yeah, true.
And Cass just says, "It's starting." And Dean's like, "You think, genius?" And he says, "You don't have to be mean."
I have feelings now that I'm human.
Yeah, I love human Cass. Dean asks what we should do, and Cass says, "I suggest we imbibe copious amounts of alcohol and just wait for the inevitable blast wave." And then Dean's asking, like, well, how do we stop the apocalypse? Like, what's the next plan? And Cass is like, well, there is no plan.
Lucifer will meet Michael on the chosen field. And the Battle of Armageddon begins.
Hey, well, where's this chosen field?
I don't know.
And Dean's like, well, there's got to be something. And Cass is like, no, there's not. Dean calls him a junkless sissy, which is just so uncalled for here. But
right?
He's mad. The apocalypse is happening. I'm going to let it, like, you know, he's allowed to be mad. And I guess Cass isn't offering any solutions. Since he's kind of lost his grace, he has been a bit backseaty, Cass. He's like, well, I guess I'll use a shotgun. I guess I'll help you, like, gut some demons. The apocalypse is happening, I suppose. You know? Yeah.
I mean, he's lost his purpose, right? I think that's the issue. So we have Chuck doing another voiceover of this really quite sweet montage of the boys and baby just like being, it's section or clips of various moments in the show where they've been like around. There's only one section that is I feel like was filmed for this, where they're like looking up at the night sky.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I couldn't pinpoint. I don't know. No, I can't think where that was. Yeah.
And he says, in between jobs, Sam and Dean would sometimes get a day, sometimes a week if they're lucky. They'd pass the time lining their pockets. Sam would insist on honest work, but now he hustles pool like his brother.
And when it was clear, they'd park her in the middle of nowhere. sit on the hood and watch the stars. For hours. Without saying a word.
And when he said that, I was like, because they're around each other for so long, they must get used to just being in silence.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, because this show never shows it, apart from like now, I don't know, there's something about it that just made me appreciate it. And it made them more real, if that makes sense.
Well, we've said this before, like, it's the little things about their lives that would be interesting and make them more, I mean, they're pretty fleshed out characters already, but like make it even more so. Like, knowing that they go to rock concerts, like, that's never, never once did they ever mention that canonically, other than Chuck saying that they do it. Or like going to watch sports. Like,
right, exactly. I'm not sure what who the Jayhawks are, so I can't tell you what. I'm going to guess it's baseball just because of John Winchester.
I thought baseball as well, so yeah, sure.
It never occurred to them that, sure, maybe they never really had a roof and four walls. But they were never, in fact, homeless. That's a good line.
Every time I see him on screen, I'm like, guys, Chuck's such a dick. Like, the rage I have for him. I think it's because he's just, I said it before, it's the smugness. It's the smugness of like, I'm writing such a good story. It's like, screw you, Chuck.
Yep. And like, what creative like looks at their work and is like, yes, this is good. Like, most of the time when you've made something, you're just like, it could be better. Yeah. Not always.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's an alright line, I suppose, but maybe it's just because it's Chuck, so.
Maybe Kripke is the type of person who is work and's like, that's good. Because, I mean, he did write this episode. He wrote Chuck.
True.
Chuck is him.
Maybe this is how he sits when he's making his episodes.
Like, I've heard him sometimes talk about, like, The Boys and some of the stuff they've done on there. And he is very pleased with himself a lot of the time. To be fair, rightly. Like, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. And then the phone rings and he like picks up the phone and it says, Mistress Magna? And Dean's on the other end. He's like, no. And then Chuck gets all flustered and I was like, oh yeah, but like, if you're expecting one phone call from like a sex phone worker, wouldn't you still maybe be a little bit turned on if it was Dean?
I mean,
especially with it being Chuck.
I mean,
like
Chuck, yeah. But what sex line calls you back? Like, this really confused me.
You're right.
The only other way I thought it could be was that Chuck is Mistress Magda. Just earning some extra money on the side.
Maybe, but he kind of says it as a question, though.
I know.
It's not quite like, oh, but that would be so much funnier if that was the case, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay, they added this joke for like, ha ha ha, sex workers are funny, whatever. But what would have been actually funnier here is if he's running some kind of like psychic line because he's a prophet. So he's like, fortunes and tarot readings or something. Like, I don't know. I think that would have been funnier. Because I was so confused by this because, oh well, whatever. We don't need to go into intricacies of how like phones work. I mean, maybe he just thought they had like a real connection, so he was ringing back,
Maybe. So Dean asks what happened to Becky, and Chuck's like, well, it didn't work out. I had too much respect for her. He got dumped, let's be real. Chuck tries to move on the conversation. It's like, okay, this can't be the reason why you called. Dean says Sam said yes. And Chuck's like, I know, I saw it. I've been working on the pages. And then Dean asks, this is really good thinking on Dean's part to call the prophet to ask where the big showdown's going to be.
Yeah.
So Chuck tells him where it's going to be. The way that he starts this off, I thought he wouldn't know, because he's like, the angels are keeping it top secret. And then he's like, but I saw it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just like getting his like downtrodden Dean even more, and then it's like, I have your hope.
He's such a bad god.
Yeah.
The thing is as well, like if you go from like Chuck the writer's perspective, he has quite a lot of faith in them, because he's just seen like Sam say yes to Lucifer, and he's like, oh, better go finish like writing my novel. Like there's still going to be an Earth to sell his books to.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah. Like, why would you even think that would be like what would happen?
It's almost like he knows the ending. Ooh.
Yeah. At what point do you think he lost track of the ending? I think it's actually after this. Like, I think after this, he starts to unravel because things are not going the way they're supposed to.
I have an exact moment, I think, and I'll tell you when it is, because it's in this episode. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So he tells them it's in Stull Cemetery. And it's a boneyard outside of Lawrence. He says, why Lawrence? Chuck says, I don't know. It all has to end where it started, I guess.
You know of any way to short circuit this thing?
Besides the rings? No. Sorry.
Well, do you have any idea what's going to happen next?
I wish that I did. But I honestly don't know yet.
Do you think... Oh, I'm clutching at straws here. Looking back at this episode, I feel like whoever put the finishing touches to the end of Supernatural went back and watched this episode only, and then that was it. Because, like, Chuck saying, like, oh, it has to end where it started, I guess, and, like, it all ending on a hunt. I don't know. There are many reasons why I kind of didn't enjoy the bits with Chuck in this episode, and I feel like the finale of Supernatural kind of taints this episode, because you can't watch it without like thinking, and some of the stuff he says, you're like, it ties in so closely, and it never worked out. Like it's frustrating. I think that's what it is. It's frustration.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
But never mind. I mean, there's a worse line coming up from Chuck.
I think I know what it is too. So we're then in an alleyway, and Dean is clearly like ready to head off to somewhere, and Bobby's asking where he's going, and he says, I'm gonna go talk to Sam. And Bobby's like, you just don't give up. He's like, it's Sam. Cass also points out that like, if you couldn't reach him in there, like, what are you going to do on the battlefield? And Dean then points out that if we've already lost, I guess I've got nothing to lose. The line from Cass here is so sad. He's like,
I just want you to understand. The only thing that you're going to see out there is Michael killing your brother.
Because they really think that this is the end, like completely the end.
Yeah, Cass is trying to save Dean more heartache. You know, I did really like this bit between them. It felt very like a good sum up of their relationship so far, of Cass trying to stop him from doing something kind of stupid to protect him, and him just being like, nah, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah,
but I think Dean appreciated as well that Cass was trying to stop him here. I don't know. It was a cute scene. I liked it. It was nice.
And Dean's response is that I ain't gonna let him die alone, which is so good.
Yeah, and he's just like, bye then.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Peace out.
So it's the next day, and they're in the cemetery, and Michael appears, and they start to have like a little conversation back and forth, and I can't even imagine that, this is a massive moment in destiny and like the legacy of their being, and it comes to this point. Like the way that Jared and Jake act this out, it doesn't feel like Adam and Sam.
No, yeah, not
It
at all.
feels like two brothers who haven't seen each other in millennia meeting on this battlefield that's been foretold since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's really good. I really like the way J.K. Cable, he does this when he's Michael. He does this kind of almost like far away look in his eyes, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, and it's always like you're just so. All of this is just so beneath me, but like he clearly cares about it. It's good. It's really good.
it is. Yeah, it's really, really well done. So Michael says, it's good to see Lucifer. It's been too long. Can you believe it's finally here? I've never been in a fight, but I've watched lots of like fights on TV, and I'm like, this feels like, all right, we should probably start fighting, right? Yeah, we should probably start fighting, right? But let's carry on talking about how we should fight, right? Like, it's like they can't initiate it. That no one's going to throw the first punch. And I wonder how much of it's actually foretold. Like, they get to the battlefield, but like, are they supposed to just like charge at each other? Or are they? I feel like it was written up to this point and actually no further. So they really don't actually know how to start their fight.
I agree with you. Yeah, it feels like it's kind of like now what? We're here.
Yeah.
Now what? I mean, this used to happen. I don't know if it still happens in like when people do meet on an actual battlefield. They generally send, say like medieval times, you'd have two armies. They would send a person each, and they'll meet in the middle and try to like sort it out before they actually start like charging each other. And I feel like that was this a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess the thing is, what's so crazy is that neither army is prepared, right?
Yeah.
Like the demons are not around, the angels are not around, because neither of them know where they need to be. Because if they needed to be somewhere, Cass would know.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, is it that they fight first, decimate the planet, and then the angels and demons fight?
Well, this is precisely it, isn't it? I think there's a reason why it's not like a whole like armies of angels and army of demons kind of lining up, because ultimately it's exactly what you said. This is a fight between two brothers, so it needs to be like intimate, and I don't think they wanted anyone else around for this,
Right.
which is why no one's prepared. They don't really care about the angels or the I don't believe that Michael cares about the angels
No.
I think he's, as much as Lucifer cares about demons, really. This is all about their, I don't know, I guess their pride at the end of the day. But then it mirrors so closely, like through the dialogue, Sam and Dean, but not them now.
Yeah, so it mirrors them if they had never... It mirrors them if they had remained separated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So where Lucifer and Michael couldn't resolve their differences over the fact that they have a deadbeat dad, Sam and Dean could.
Like, I just think that's it. Zachariah really screwed the pooch on this one, because if he had never shown Dean the future, like this might have all just like, he might have just never met back up with Sam, and this all could have gone down how it was supposed to go down. Like,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're not wrong.
like, what was he doing?
he was messing it up for everybody.
Yeah. I really love this conversation between them. Like, I think it's so good because it's just so... There's something so petty about it. And it's like these millennia old beings having this petty spat that we've seen Sam and Dean hash out like time and time again. And like they cancel it out. You know, Sam and Dean have managed to resolve their differences. We got to the end of the season with Dean trusting Sam, you know, Sam having faith again in Dean. It's all been lovely and sunshine and rainbows between them for the last couple of episodes. And then you've got these like all powerful beings who are still like,
So Lucifer says, you know, part of me wishes we didn't have to do this. Michael agrees. And Lucifer questions, like, then why are we doing it?
Yeah.
And Michael's response is, I have no choice after what you did.
What if it's not my fault?
What is that supposed to mean?
Think about it.
This is the only difference not the only difference, but another difference between Lucifer and Sam. Because Lucifer says it's not his fault, whereas Sam has accepted his faults.
Yes, that's true.
Dad made everything, which means he made me who I am. God wanted the devil.
I wish... I talked earlier in the episode about like late seasons Lucifer. I wish there was more of this. Because this gets lost, I feel like. This is a really good line. You know, God's orchestrated all of this. This could never have got to this point if I didn't exist and I hadn't fallen. So where was my free will in this? You know?
True.
And you don't really see the angels questioning their free will at all, apart from Cass. But wouldn't it... I actually think that Lucifer and Supernatural deserved a better redemption arc. He deserved I think they could have done a decent redemption arc for Lucifer.
The question is, did he deserve one?
But no, definitely not. But we could have had, I don't know. I just feel like there comes a point, maybe when Chuck reveals himself as God later on. And we do kind of get Lucifer kind of working on their side for like a second, right? And then he betrays them again. But like, what if he hadn't betrayed them and actually finally committed his act of rebellion against his father and like helped them against like God? I feel like that would have been an almost like, but you're right. Like maybe it's just because, as I was saying, these angels are stuck in their ways. They're never going to change. So why should he change in the end? I've talked myself out of it.
Well, yeah. The thing is, this line doesn't... It almost works for the end of Supernatural because there's no actual mention of hatred of humanity in this conversation.
Yeah.
I think because they would be too much on the same side because Michael doesn't care about humanity either. And basically, like, and then at the end of Supernatural, the reason why Lucifer doesn't betray God is because God is doing exactly what Lucifer wants, which is destroy humanity.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. They're almost like on the same side now. So he's back to being like, it's all just them just vying for his attention. Yeah. Fine. I took myself out of the Lucifer redemption arc. I'm sorry for even entertaining the idea, guys.
I mean, I think, you know what would have been interesting actually is if they did give him a redemption arc somewhere in between like now and like Jack.
Yeah.
And with the birth of Jack is when he goes crazy again, or you know, his hatred of humanity comes out again because he has a Nephilim son who is way more powerful than him.
Yeah.
And that is threatening to him. So that could send him on another dark path. So I think that would have been interesting to get the redemption and then get the fall again.
I think ultimately what we're both saying is that it would have been nice to have a more nuanced Lucifer if they sort of insisted in having him so much in the story later on, in big important plot points, it would have been nice to see something done with his character other than just more of the same.
Yeah, that will actually make him evil.
Yeah.
So like the idea that Jack could be like turned to evil so easily is more believable, or more streamlined, but plausible.
Yeah, because you look at Jack's sweet little face and you're like, nah.
Exactly. But I mean, he had Cass as the dad rather than Lucifer, so that's why.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll obviously talk about more of that later on, but I just thought that line was interesting, and I feel like it's maybe glossed over until about season 14.
Yeah. He then goes on to say, like, we kill each other, and for what? One of Dad's tests, and we don't even know what the answer is. We're brothers. Let's just walk off the chessboard. I would have loved to have seen Dean, Michael, and Lucifer Sam have this conversation.
Yeah.
Just because, like, how many tests did John put them through?
Yeah.
How, like, and Sam walked off the chessboard.
And, like I said, you understand here why Dean was Michael's true vessel, because it feels wrong that Adam is the younger brother here. Like, Lucifer is clearly talking to an older brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm a good son, and I have my orders.
That's some season 1 Dean right there.
Basically, yeah. Very much so. And Lucifer points out, you don't have to follow them. God's not around, so you can just rebel. It's going to be fine. But he's like, well, I'm not like you. He then goes on to say, you haven't changed a little bit, little brother, which again seems weird with Adam saying that.
Yeah.
We were together. We were happy. But you betrayed me, all of us, and you made our father leave.
Which, how much of that is the beginning of Supernatural?
I mean, the telling bit here that, like, this is Dean talking, I say that in, like, inverted, like, commas.
In quotes, yeah.
He's like, you betrayed me, and then corrects it to all of us. But no, he feels like Lucifer personally betrayed him by leaving, which is, you're right, exactly how Dean felt when Sam left for college. Sam left Dean. He didn't leave John and Dean. He left Dean.
Yeah, I mean, we had that conversation in Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes, exactly. This is why this season's so good, because you can put all these pieces together, and, like, it's so telling of their character, like, and how it's just so good. I do love season 5, apart from some of the filler episodes. And, like, yeah, and you made our father leave, so that once Sam left Dean, that John was so angry with Dean for, like, letting it happen. Yeah.
Yes.
And that just widened the rift between them to the point that he eventually goes missing, and then Dean goes to find Sam, etc., etc. Supernatural happens.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. These conversations that are happening are what makes season 5.
Yeah.
The tie-ins from everything that we've already seen, which is, I think, where I'm having the problem with later seasons, because I don't often feel like the tie-in is as strong as it is here. Yeah, they're making callbacks to the earlier seasons and all that kind of stuff, but, like, it's done in a way that makes sense. Whereas if you look at the end of season 15, the tie-ins to the rest of the season is like, it's how how we're talking about how it's like 5 season sort of overarching arcs.
Yeah,
they could have just done from season 10 to season 15 and made that their, like, big tie-in. I don't think they needed to go all the way to the beginning, apart from, like, as much as I hate it, the last scene on the bridge. I think that was a sweet touch. Not a nice touch, a sweet one.
Sweet touch. I think, you know, this is what's good about Kripke, is that he manages to tell, like, because he had 5 seasons planned, although it got kind of messed up in the middle because of the writer's strike, he was able to make a cohesive story that, so you can point to things from season 1 and season 2 and see how they got to season 5. The problem with Supernatural, from season 5 onwards, they never knew if they were going to get another season. So you can only have callbacks. Like, there's no...
Yeah.
What's it calling for? No, there's no real foreshadowing between seasons. Maybe within a season, but not... Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a shame. I guess it's like how network television works. I just wish they would let people write like whole stories. This is the thing that bothers me a lot, but like let people write whole stories, because it just works out better and it's more interesting.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Definitely. Lucifer then goes on to say, no one makes Dad do anything. He's doing this to us. I feel like, didn't we have that same line? Like, nobody makes us do anything. Was it not another angel had maybe said to another, like, I don't remember.
It rings a bell. I mean, it makes sense as well. You know, again, free will and supernatural. I feel like there's sort of the underlying tone here. Lucifer seems more aware of it than other angels.
Michael, yeah.
You're a monster, Lucifer. And I have to kill you.
If that's the way it's gotta be, then I'd like to see you try.
Michael kind of, he flinches. It's not like a physical flinch, but he's like good job, Jake. Mm-hmm. He like looks like, oh shit, like I might not be able to win this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. There is sort of like standing back kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I have to say this, and I'm so sorry. I don't ever want to ruin season 5, and especially this episode for people, but oh my gosh. Them, like, slowly, like, starting to say, you know what I'm going to say. It's just, season 10 just ruins the wire work. Oh, the fight they have in that church. It should never have been allowed to air. Like... I saw a really good... I saw a post about this the other day. I can't remember where I was, like what part of the internet. But someone said, like, what would actually have been better in that scene in season 10 was just getting people's reactions to the fight rather than watching them fight. It's like itself. Yep. It would have been cheaper. It would have been easier. Like, we didn't need to... we didn't need to see it. But, like, so I just imagine them sort of, like, flying at each other here, and I'm just so glad it just never got to that point, my goodness.
I know. It's so good. And, I mean, because it's the best interruption ever, Rock of Ages by Def Leppard comes on when Dean puts the tape in the tape player. And just, like, rolls up to the fight, like he's not interrupting, like, this massive moment in time.
It's so good. But the beginning of that song, Forever for me, is, I think it's The Offspring also use it.
Yes. Yeah. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, wait, what?
And isn't the song like Pretty Fly for a White Guy? So yes. Whenever I watch this scene, I'm just expecting Dean to blast out Pretty Fly for a White Guy. And I'm like, why would he choose that music?
I honestly don't think that Dean would like Offspring. Like, he might like one or two songs, but like he'd be kind of insulted by them, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Because that song starts so well. Because obviously it starts with the same like Unterglieben Glauben or whatever, yeah. But then it goes like, give it to me, baby. It would have been so good. I'd like to see an edit with that song put in instead of Rock of Ages.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So he drives up, gets out of the car and says, howdy, boys. I kind of wish he said like, hello, boys. I think that would have been quite a nice little callback. And he's like, sorry, am I interrupting something? So, okay, I realized why I wanted him to say hello. He is channeling his inner Crowley.
The sass just rubbed off on him all those times they worked together.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so good. The song's good, but I do wish it was something else. That's my one gripe with this.
I know, because maybe the lyrics make sense to what's happening.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But
it's talking about starting a fire
and
burning the place down. So, yeah,
it kind
of makes sense. But you can also, like, how many times do they start songs, like, not at the beginning? Like, just cut that bit.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know what one I don't even know what song I prefer. Anything by Led Zeppelin, but they never got the rights to it, so it's real sad.
Right.
Yeah. So, shout out to however much, like, Jensen Ackles paid to play Ramble On at the end of the Winchesters, so... anyway.
He has the money now, so he can.
Finally got some Led Zeppelin into Supernatural. Only took 16, 17 years. I don't know what I would have liked instead. Like, I don't know. I'll think on that one. Give us your suggestions. What song do you think would have been good for Dean to drive up to? Or do you just really like this one? That's fine. I just can't divorce it from all the Offspring. So yeah, Dean rocks up. Literally. Hey! And Lucifer says, Dean, even for you, this is a whole new mountain of stupid. Because Dean's like, hey, we need to talk. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Sam. Like, screw you, Lucifer. Michael says, you're no longer the vessel, Dean. You've no right to be here. And Dean just apologizes to Adam, which is sweet. And also, like, then Michael says, Adam isn't home right now, which is just so horror movie silliness.
Do you know what's so messed up about this? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, of course.
But, like, Adam his soul doesn't need to be in that body. But the angels forced him back into his body.
Yeah.
With his soul, and then, like, trapped in hell forever. Like, how... the injustice. The injustice.
I know, poor Adam. Like, he was poorly treated in this whole season. You're right, yeah, they don't. Once they're inhabiting the vessel, like, surely they don't need their soul there. Other than, maybe they do. Maybe it's some kind of, like, fuel for the fire.
Well, Cass doesn't need Jimmy. Jimmy's been dead for a long time.
I feel like Cass is a special case, though.
Yeah, that does make sense. Because he was brought back at the beginning of this season.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, then you're next on my list, Buttercup. But right now, I need 5 minutes with him.
You little maggot. You are no longer a part of this story.
I enjoyed that immensely. And then Cass appears.
Hey, ass butt.
Throws a Molotov cocktail at Michael. And he goes up in flames as he, like, disappears. I love that Dean took a moment from, like, his very serious trying to get Sam's conversation to turn to Cass to ask him, like, ass butt? Like, really? Like, honestly? Hey, Cass, like, you got your 5 minutes. So Bobby and Cass are there, and they've come to back Dean up because, of course, they have. They couldn't let him do this alone, just like he couldn't let Sam do it alone. Like, they're a family.
Exactly.
Cass is part of the family. Lucifer, this is one of my favorite.
Castiel, did you just Molotov my brother with holy fire?
No.
Like he's just watched him do it. He's just watched him do it. And you're like, also, like, younger brother move much. Just like watching you do something and like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
I wonder if certain like pockets of angels consider themselves more brotherly, because the way he's like, did you do this to my brother? It's just like, well, technically Michael is also the Castiel's brother.
Yeah.
So this is like, because he doesn't say our brother, he says my brother.
That's so true, yeah. Yeah, the possessive is that. Like, I feel like the further they get away from the archangels, it's more like, you're kind of like my second cousin.
Like, I'll call you brother, but we're not really related.
Yeah, exactly. So, Lucifer says no one dicks with Michael but me, and then explodes Cass with a snap of his fingers.
Ugh.
I did love the very obvious, like, I think is there green screen going on there? Like, it was very, like, now you watch it back I kind of hate noticing visual effects, but I also kind of enjoy it when it's like older media. Oh god, this is older media now, because I'm like, Yep. But Bobby's just like, in the background.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he just got splattered with Cass innards. Wouldn't you freak out a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Everyone sort of flinches, but no one really reacts past that. So Dean just starts shouting to Sammy again. Sammy, can you hear me? Lucifer is like, I tried to be nice for Sammy's sake. Oh, I called him Sammy, the bastard. He's like, you are such a pain in my ass. And then he like throws him against the Impala, like over the hood, and it cracks the windscreen, which is painful. It's like, no, don't hurt her. Bobby shoots Lucifer in the back, with what looks like the Colt, but I'm not even sure where that is now or whether that is it.
I think that's his usual pistol, because I think it was black.
I think you're right as well. And Lucifer kills Bobby. He snaps his neck with a twist of his hand, which, yeah. Dean does react very strongly to that. He's like, no, Bobby, because you're right. Cass has already come back from the dead once. And then, Lucifer grabs Dean and just starts absolutely like wailing on him at the side of the car. Like, Dean is pinned against the door of the Impala, getting his face punched as Lucifer monologues over him, basically saying like, Sammy's in here. He's going to feel the snap of your bones, every single one. We're going to take our time. And all through this, like, and Dean's face is just getting more and more swollen. I do love the makeup they did on this, because it is just one, like you said, I think right at the beginning of this episode, it's one half of his face. So like Jensen still gets to act out of like one bit of his face and does a really good job of it.
He really does.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I'm not going to leave you.
Trying to reassure him, because at this point he thinks that Lucifer's just going to like beat him to death and Sam's going to watch. So he's just reassuring Sam that it's okay. He like did this to himself by turning up, I guess.
I'm going to derail this real quick, and I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
Is Lucifer God a parallel of Sam, John? Because if you think about 1519, instead of God like snapping his fingers, turning his hand, he beats the crap out of these guys. And we've just seen that Lucifer can explode an angel and snap a human's neck without even touching them, but instead he beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And then 1519, God does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because Lucifer and God are the same, like Sam and John are the same.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, you're completely right. Like, the parallels are there between all of them. Well, we know God is John and Sam is Lucifer, but to go to that level, yeah, I think you're completely right. And it's also just like, it shows their anger, I guess. And John and Sam, I think that's what it is. It's the passing of anger from like father to son. Because we know that John passes anger onto Sam. So you're right, like God passes his anger onto Lucifer, and then it's coming out violently, like literally violently. Yeah, definitely. I really do see that, yeah. That's good. So, as Lucifer like draws back for like a final punch, this was a really interesting thing. I don't know if you noticed this as well. He draws back his fist and he has blood on his knuckles. Mm-hmm. There's then a glint from the Impala that goes straight into Sam's eyes, and he sees the army man stuck in the ashtray that Chuck mentioned before, and he just gets an absolute like flood of memories from the Impala, like everything they've gone through, all of his childhood, everything like that car means to him. I mean, it's perfect, and it's so well done that you know why he's able to like snap back at the end of this, because it's just a rush of like family and love and emotion. And when we cut back to his hand, I'm 95% sure it doesn't have blood on him anymore.
I'm going to go back and watch that, because it's actually, if that's true, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Like, it could just be a continuity error, but also, I don't think it is. I think that's deliberate. It's too important a scene for there to be a continuity error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, why would there be? Because it's not like they have to physically cut in all of this.
Exactly.
He would literally just, his hand would be on camera and then he just unclench.
I'm sure, because I noticed it, but like, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I imagined it having some kind of like supernatural fever dream. But, yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is, isn't it? Really.
But yeah, the flashback is awesome. I loved it so much. It's just, it's all Sam and Dean's relationships. It's all tied up, and it is all about them as well.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I love it. So yeah, Dean brings Sam back. I mean, it's the Impala, but it's not, because the Impala is Dean. Dean is the Impala.
And without Dean showing up, he wouldn't have seen it.
Exactly.
It's okay, Dean. It's gonna be okay.
He takes out the rings from his pocket, because that's where Lucifer stashed them, and opens the gate. I'm going to say gates. The hole.
The sucky hole.
Yeah. And like Sam looks back at Dean, and you can tell, and Sam, like, again, the acting, like Jared's face is conveying like that Sam is so terrified of what's going to happen, because they know they've won, but like they still have to pay the cost of winning. Yeah. And he's like ready to go, ready to jump into the hole, and then Michael appears and he's like, "No, it's not going to end this way. You know, I have to fight my brother Sam here and now. It's my destiny." He does tell, he tells him to step back as well, and Sam's like, "You're going to have to make me," which. So yeah, Sam looks again at Dean, and he does like the like opening the arms thing, where he's like gonna like swan dive into this hole. But then Michael grabs hold of him, and they both fall in together. Which Adam was never meant to fall into the pit. Like, he wasn't supposed to go into the cage. It's Michael's fault. He grabbed onto Sam. And like, it's not like Sam threw him in either. It was a complete accident.
I don't know, because he kind of grabs his shoulder as he starts to fall backwards. So I'm wondering if Sam intrinsically knew that Michael going into the cage wouldn't actually stop anything, because essentially Michael would have won. Yeah. So heaven could then take over the earth.
That's true. I mean, Sam's very smart. He would have been like, bonus, you know. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. The thing is, I don't know if Sam would do that to Adam. I think he maybe would have trusted Dean to find a way to save Adam. I don't know. I always thought that it was like reflexively, as he's falling into the cage, he grabs hold of him. I don't know.
You know what would have been really interesting is if we could have seen Lucifer take over for a second, and that's that's who actually grabbed Michael. It was never Sam. It was Lucifer being like, no, I'm not going in alone.
Yeah, if I'm falling in, you're coming with me. Like, we'll duke this out. Yeah, that's so good. We can believe that. That's fine.
We couldn't see his face. I'll give that excuse. So it was actually Lucifer who grabbed Michael as he was falling.
So good. So, yeah, and then it closes and the horseman's rings are there and they're like glowing hot. Having done their job, and Dean, his face still busted up, just leans back against the Impala for a second. Mm-hmm. Heavy stuff.
It truly is. Like, so, the one-eyed acting is when Sam's like, it's going to be okay. And you can see Dean's like, this is not going to be okay.
No.
Oh dear. So Dean's like kneeling on the ground next to the Impala, and then Cass appears next to him, and with his face all swollen, he says, Cass, you're alive. And Cass says, I'm better than that. And he touches Dean's forehead and like heals all of his wounds. Dean then asks if Cass is God, which the way that Misha's acting in this, it does feel like a godly character, right?
Yeah.
Like his like downtrodden, like all hope is lost is gone.
Yeah.
And like suddenly he's like can do all his powers are back. So I could see that. He says, that's a nice compliment, but no, although I do believe he brought me back new and improved. And he walks over to Bobby and like unsnaps his neck and brings him back to life.
I mean, of course, Cass is like serene in this because this whole season he's been trying to find God, and he's just had absolute proof that he exists because he's been brought back from the dead again.
True.
Because they thought God had abandoned them. That's what they were told, that he'd gone. So he's kind of like, I was righteous. I was doing everything correctly this whole time because I have been brought back by God. And man, that sucks for Cass. Like that he believes that even for a second. Yeah. I love it, and I do also hate it.
We get like a voiceover from Chuck, and he says, endings are hard. And then it goes to his house, and you see him looking at like his last book title. He says, any chapped ass monkey with a keyboard can poop out a beginning, but endings are impossible. You try to tie up every loose end, but you never can. The fans are always going to bitch. There's always going to be holes.
And since it's the ending, it's all supposed to add up to something. I'm telling you, they're a raging pain in the ass.
Do you reckon this is like his dedication at the beginning?
Yeah. I feel it. This is...
Or the prologue?
Yeah, this annoys me because, yes, okay, ending a story is difficult. But like prefacing your ending with the fact that it was like really hard, guys. Just feels like you're trying to make an excuse for yourself. Like, stand by your ending. Like, if you're gonna write it and like put it out, you should stand by it and say like, no, I wrote this for these reasons. Not be like, well, it's really difficult to end a story. I don't know.
The thing is, this feels like Kripke.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing, like when we've seen Chuck interact with his fans, like he seems pretty much okay with it, right? Like there's nothing about it that gives the indication that he's not a fan of his fans.
Yeah.
So the fact he's like, the fans are going to bitch is just like, no, you don't think that though.
No.
That's Kripke saying that.
I mean, were they expecting... I mean, because if they thought this was the last episode, were they expecting a lot of blowback from the fans? I mean, I don't think there was a lot, I don't know if the season 6 renewal had already been announced, though, at this point.
More than likely, I think they usually get announced around, like, I don't know, I feel like it was March. March is usually when...
So people would have only reacted to this like the end of a season, not the end of a series, which are two different, entirely different things.
Yes. Yes, they are. So it's now nighttime and Dean and Cass are in the Impala driving, and Dean asks, what he's going to do now, and Cass says he's going to return to heaven.
With Michael in the cage, I'm sure it's total anarchy up there.
So what, you're the new sheriff in town?
I like that, yeah. I suppose I am.
Dean is clearly not happy with this. And I know we're making a lot of references between this, I guess because this does feel like the end of, doesn't feel like the end of Supernatural, but like it's such a clear ending of what could be Supernatural to the actual ending of Supernatural, because I feel like they take Jack becoming God a lot better than Dean is taking Cass going back to heaven, though essentially it's the same thing.
You're right. I do understand why Dean would be like pissed with Cass here, because like I said, he's been like, God's been absent through his whole season, and now suddenly he's like back on the God squad, Whereas it's two different things. Like, is Cass going to heaven thinking, is he thinking he's going to change anything, or is he going to keep the status quo? Like, none of that is known here. Whereas when Jack like takes over, there's the kind of thought that it's going to be different now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, I guess Cass has a history of like disappearing and then like not coming back when being asked to. I know we never get to see the interactions between Jack and the boys when they're, because it's one episode and it's a stupid episode. We don't know how that would have gone down, whether like Jack shows up when they pray, let's put it that way, whereas Cass sometimes just won't answer.
Yeah, and like it's a tough one because we don't see the outcome. We see the outcome of Cass going back to heaven as well, which is not good. And with Jack, like he said, he was going to be very hands off as well. I just don't know. Like it's different. I think, yeah. Like I said, Jack and Cass are rewriting the system, whereas I feel like, Cass here is just going back and doing the same old thing. I don't think Dean knows Cass well enough here to think that he would change anything. And I don't think Cass has grown enough as a person to try and change much either.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, now that he has new wings, he's going to go, he's suddenly going to be God's bitch again. And then Dean says, well, if you see him, tell him I'm coming for him next, which I thought was a great line. It takes 10 years from here, but he does.
I do love that. Really, I do.
Cass says, well, he helped maybe more than we realize. And Dean's like, well, that's easy for you to say. He brought you back, but what about Sam? What about me? Where's my grand prize? All I've got is my brother in a hole. And then Cass points out, like, you got what you asked for. No paradise, no hell, just the same.
What would you rather have? Peace or freedom?
I feel like that's not made enough of. Like, well, it kind of is. And it isn't. So, this is... Sorry, I'm going to go on a massive rant now. This whole line is the theme of the rest of Supernatural. What do you want? Do you want peace? Do you want freedom? Because, like, you can't seem to have both in this universe, right?
Yeah.
So, and ultimately, what Dean at the end gets, presumably peace, not freedom, right? Because
yes,
he's trapped in heaven. He would never choose to be... It's funny because they say trapped in heaven and hell, like it's not equivalent to Earth. Like, what makes it different? But whatever. But yeah, but ultimately what he always wanted is freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I had to say it.
Yeah, you're actually 100% right. It literally just becomes a battle for peace or freedom
What's
for
interesting
the rest of the show.
is that Jackal's like fan fiction that he wrote, The Winchesters,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately what Dean gets is freedom. Implied, but it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, maybe now that maybe I'll try and keep that in mind for the rest of the time that we're watching it, because what does peace look for Dean, and what does freedom look like for Dean, and if there's any moments that we can point to that, okay, this is what it would look like, and this is what this would look like. Because like you said, he got peace. But what would his freedom look like?
Well, this is it. Like, at the end of this season, he gets peace as well. Like, the whole thing with Lisa, there's no more war going on between heaven and hell, as far as we know, etc. But he wanted the freedom to be with his brother. That's like, to not be stuck in the narrative to the point they had to fight in the, with their bodies being used as vessels for angels, where they're like stuck in some kind of weird, like, millennia old story that God wrote. Yeah,
right.
He wants that bit gone. So yeah, that's what I think. I think Cass at this point is saying, like, yeah, peace or freedom, thinking that Dean wants peace, but like, again, even at the end of this, he still would have chosen freedom. I still, because he wanted to be able to get his brother back, knowing that there would probably be a cost to that. And he's only not doing that because he made a promise to Sam that he wouldn't
choose peace.
Exactly. Yeah, that he would choose peace.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad you pointed that out.
We're on it today.
And then he says, you really suck at goodbyes, you know that, because Cass just disappears.
Yeah.
Leaving him with that question and leaving us with that question. Thanks very much. So we're back at Bobby's salvage yard, and Bobby and Dean like hug each other, and then Dean gets into the car. And as this is happening,
this is the last Dean and Bobby will see of each other for a very long time.
And for the record, at this point next week, Bobby will be hunting a rougarou outside of Dayton, but not Dean. Dean didn't want Cass to save him.
Every part of him, every fiber he's got wants to die or find a way to bring Sam back. But he isn't going to do either, because he made a promise.
And this is exactly what we were saying right at the beginning of the episode, that his ending with Lisa is a sacrifice for Dean, because it's not what he wants to be doing at this point.
I don't agree. One thing that kind of made me like, that I don't believe that every fiber of Dean's being wants to die. I think there might be a small part of him, but most of it is wanting to bring Sam back.
Yeah. Because all those options haven't been explored yet. Like, they don't know they couldn't bring Sam back, or, something could happen. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it's overstated a bit. And yeah. What's interesting to me, what I was going to say earlier, is you asked before, like, at what point in this do you think that, like, it got away from Chuck? I think it's when he brought Cass back. Because, like, an ending would have been, Dean fixing his face and going back to Lisa because he promised. But ultimately, Cass is the one who continues the story of Supernatural.
Yeah, I mean, Because what would have happened had God not brought Cass back? Heaven would have either destroyed itself or... Well, yeah, I think probably heaven and hell would have destroyed themselves. So what Cass says of being no paradise, no hell would actually come to fruition. But because Cass is back and he has faith in God again, he wants to fix heaven. Well, if heaven gets fixed, the demons have to do something, so they fix hell. And then we get the rest of Supernatural.
I mean, yeah, and like the thing is, like, God blames Cass for this. Like, way, and you know, season 15, he's like, you were taken off the line broken. Like, you were, you know, you never did the same thing as all the other multiverse Cass did. But ultimately, like, he's the one who brought him back. So it is Chuck as well, isn't it? It is Chuck who brings Cass back. It's not the angels. It is Chuck.
I believe so, yeah.
I'm sure. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. People.
Now that we know that the empty exists, did he piss off the empty even back here? I was like, get out.
I don't know. I don't feel like he was at full, like, sass mode. He's not full sass Cass yet. Like, I don't know if he has the, like, levels to annoy the empty. But yeah, like, it's that, right? Like, that's Cass is the bit that derails the story, and like, we will go through the last little bit of this, and it becomes obvious next season why.
Yeah, exactly. So he then arrives at Lisa's house and knocks on the door. His voice cracks when he says, you know, hey, Lisa. And he says, if it's not too late, I'd like to take you up on that beer. And she says, it's never too late. And like, he hugs her, which is really sweet. It was at this moment that I was like, I feel like Lisa is actually a bit older than he is. I don't think they're the same age.
I think so, yeah. I mean, yeah. She just does seem a bit more, I don't know though, because there's flashes of Lisa where I'm like, oh no, she totally is a bit immature. As well, like on Dean's level, like in a good way. Yeah. She's not just
I guess when...
sorry, go on.
She's also a single parent, so I feel like that forces you to like grow up past your years.
Exactly. But I think they should have shown her a bit more like haha fun sometimes, that she was, you know, more Dean's type and not just a replacement mother.
Yes. Yep, I agree. Yep. And then so we get another voiceover from Chuck. As he says this next bit, there's like flashes of previous seasons.
So what's it all add up to? It's hard to say. But me, I'd say this was a test. For Sam and Dean. And I think they did all right.
Surely this is the moment, like saying it out loud now, surely this is the moment that should have triggered that Chuck is God. Because Lucifer just said, isn't this one of Dad's tests? And he's just confirmed it's a test.
I mean, and also, like, what happens at the end of this, like, the fade out.
I mean, there is that too.
But, yes.
But, like, this is the first, like, indicator of, like, oh, it was a test. And I'm like, it only just clicked reading it out loud now. I'm like, oh, God's sake.
yeah, you're right.
And he says, and I think they did all right. Up against good, evil, angels, devils, destiny, and God himself.
They made their own choice. They chose family. And, well, isn't that kind of the whole point?
They decided at some point that Chuck was God. And, like, yeah, you're right. This is the tell.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's kind of like, when it gets, like, I don't know why there's a question. I don't know why now, after rewatching this, there's ever a question about whether or not, like, Chuck was God all along. Because, like, isn't it telling us that, yeah, he definitely was with this section?
I think so. I think you're right. Yep.
Like, I know people, like, really disagree with that, but I do.
Well, so I think that you could. It might have been that the writers of the show at the beginning, when Chuck was introduced, weren't sure that he was going to become God.
Mm-hmm.
But this retcons that.
I think because, you know, they thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the guy writing the books ended up being God? Like, that's basically what they did. And then but they didn't know the implications that that would have to later seasons almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think it does. You're right. It kind of retcons it. Yeah. I mean, by the end of season 5, Chuck is God. So, like, there's definitely no breaking any argument for that. I don't think anymore.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I'm just trying to, because he says, you know, because he does mention God himself,
Mm-hmm.
and they made their own choice. And just like looking through the scenes that they decide to show,
Yeah.
they don't really show them with Chuck. I feel like maybe that was a little too obvious.
Yeah. I think so. It's supposed to be implied, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe the reason why he says, I think they did all right, is because at this point, they didn't win against God, because granted, like, God didn't get his fight that he wanted, but they also didn't defeat him.
But at the end of the season, I think he did get what he wanted, right? Because, yes, we didn't have the big fight, but he still got a brother losing another brother and having to deal with that. And for him, the choice that Dean made to let Sam jump in the hole and sacrifice himself is what does it for Chuck. Like, it's that choice of giving up your family for the greater good that he wants to see them do. Like, it's because they're not it's not like Cain and Abel. Like, one isn't murdering the other, but he almost found something better in Sam and Dean, that it's the sacrifice instead.
True.
I think.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them so interesting to him. And he would have been happy to leave it here. Like, he types out the end if the next bit didn't happen.
So after he types out the end, it says, no doubt endings are hard, but then again, nothing really ends, does it? And then he smiles and vanishes.
He's wearing all white in this scene as well.
Oh, God's sake. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I would have been happy, again, I said at the beginning of this episode, I would have been happy if, like, this was it. Like, if we didn't know, like, if you did a rewatch of the season and then picked up that this was a test, so therefore, he's God. Like,
yeah.
I feel like that is more of a shock. Like, you as the audience figuring that out versus then being told in the, like, probably the next season.
Yeah.
Or, like, having the question of, like, well, Cass says he's not God, but, like, he could be.
Well, but no, the answer to whether Chuck is God isn't answered until, like, season 13, 14. Outright, it's not answered.
True.
Yeah. So I feel like there was always that speculation of, like, why did Chuck disappear at the end of season 5? Like, I definitely remember there being, like, conversations about that, like, what? And then outright, they didn't, like, make it explicit until a long time in the future. Yeah. But this, nothing really ends, does it? It's very similar to, is it like the end is not the end of season 15? That whole tagline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's what I have to say to that.
And I mean, he's not wrong, because if he has Supernatural actually ended for us?
No. There's still stuff going on. There's still drama in the fandom. Will it ever end? I feel like my grandchildren are going to be podcasting about Supernatural.
Wild. We then cut to Lisa's house and they're sitting down for some sort of meal. And as it sort of zooms out, we see a streetlight burn out, and there's someone standing beneath it, and we see Sam, and he's like, what's crazy is that he has his like Lucifer face on.
Yeah, and because of the light blinking out, it makes him look evil. Yes.
I was just like, Lucifer got out.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're supposed to think. Like, oh, it didn't work. What's going to happen now? Because Michael's in the case. You know, it's funny because it's such a cliffhanger, but it's like it's a satisfactory cliffhanger. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so that's the end of the episode. That's it.
That's it. Done.
It cuts to black, and it's the credits roll. Like there's nothing else. And like, if I never heard Back in Black for the next season, I think I'd be okay.
Yeah. That wait though between season 5 and season 6 must have been like, woo!
Something else, yeah.
But I'm right though. Yeah, Cass continues the story. Without Cass, there would be no story. Because we know...
Agreed.
Major spoilers, but I mean, come on, you listen to us. We know who's out there and how he got back. So, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All about Cass. It's the Cass show.
It is the Cass show. Or what turns into the Cass show. Yeah. Like, so I'll admit, I went on, like when I was on the last episode on Netflix, I was scrolling through season 6 to be like, oh, like how does this season go? And I was like, oh, like people don't get killed off until quite late into the season. I thought it was like right away. I don't know why I thought that, but it's actually pretty far in before everybody gets killed off.
They have to make you like love them a little bit first before they break your heart.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I never really liked Samuel.
Oh no. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't believe it. We made it to the end of season 5.
We are officially 1/3 of the way through Supernatural.
How wild.
We did it. Hallelujah.
And honestly, I really don't have any other closing thoughts on it. I think we've gone through this so much and like broken down every little scene in this episode.
It deserves it. It's a great episode. Like, what a way to finish Kripke. Like, honestly, I do. I talk so much shit about Kripke, but like, ultimately, this was good. Like, I'm not mad at it, and it's a great episode of Supernatural. I understand completely the people who are like, this show should have ended here. Like, I get their take. I do. It would have been, like, it's a shame for everyone else, but, like, I understand how it could have happened.
Yeah.
I loved it. All the acting awards. Why didn't this episode win any awards? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue.
I think they did win a lot of People's Choice Awards, didn't they, Supernatural, back in the day, which deserved, yeah.
But I mean, they deserved a Emmy of some kind. I don't know what.
Yeah, some kind of.
But
your show isn't quite sci-fi. Here's an Emmy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still under sci-fi when you look at it under like TV genres. It's still under sci-fi. Like, for why though?
Yeah, right. I mean, now that The Walking Dead is like something, like surely they could make a new category.
Yeah, exactly. Horror, funny horror.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So I'm sure you guys, after 4 seasons, know what's coming next
Yes.
in the next couple of weeks. We'll do our wrap up of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the times we've goofed around as well will be after that.
I can't wait to hear that.
And then we will move on to season 6.
I'm excited for season 6. It's a Cass season. All about Cass all of the time. Yeah.
Yes.
It pretty much is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 6. I'm looking forward to our wrap up too. I want to go back and watch all the deleted scenes. That's what I'm going to do for that. And just get a fit. Because like, it feels like we've done season 5 for so long now that I need to go back and like have a little real think about it. But at the same time, I have it all perfectly in my mind.
Yeah, I know. This season definitely took us a lot longer than usual, but you know, life happens and we had to change our schedule, and I hope everybody doesn't mind that.
Thanks for sticking with us. You're all so cool.
Yeah. Listening to us waffle on about Supernatural for several hours a week, every other week.
Yeah. This is a long one too. So.
Oh yeah, we've been recording for 3 hours.
Oh. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of this season and this episode, I'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his wonderful artwork. It's so good and just has set the tone for our podcast, and we love it so much. So thank you. And if you would like to buy that artwork, go to our Redbubble account and you can buy it on stuff. A hat. A baseball cap. That would look good, actually. And if you'd like to come and talk to us, we are on social media. We are Escaping Purgatory Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram. We're Escaping Podcast on Twitter. Yes, come say hi and talk about like Swan Song with us, because it's good.
It really is. It really is. So this week we met our destiny and we changed it. Hopefully next time we can make our way out. Bye.
Bye. That was so good.